Hey, how's it, friends? Kane Schlenker here. This video, we're going to talk about organizing your Schoology courses with the students in mind. So once that you have created either your practice course or once courses have been loaded for you by the district or the school, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have a good flow to your Schoology course page that would make the most sense for the student. So what we have found in the past is that there's so many options in Schoology that sometimes it can get overwhelming for the teacher and overwhelming for the student. So if we have a consistent kind of feel to the courses, it'll be much more efficient and effective for students. So let's take a look at your Schoology page. So this will be your launch page when you first get on to the Schoology site. You can go to courses. Now, if you've created a practice course, you would find them in here. If your courses have been loaded by the district or by your school, you would also find the courses in here. So we're going to use this Block A course as the example. Okay, so the idea is that when you first open the page, or a student first opens the page, that we have some things in common across the board. Okay, first things first, that you have a profile picture for that course that represents the block or the time in which your class meets. Now, with the Arts Academy, we have blocks, we have numbers for courses. So whatever kind of works for you. So what you don't want is like have a picture of a cute puppy up here, which is wonderful. However, if you're a student and you go to courses and you're in here and you have all these different courses and you just have a puppy and a deer jumping over a fence and so forth, it's confusing as to where to go. If you have a big picture of something that represents that course, it's easy to jump right into that course. It's also helpful for special education teachers or support staff who have a ton of different courses that they are helping students with. And so what I'll do is I'll kind of show you the overall organizational view, and then later in the video I will show you how to do that stuff. Okay, so you want to make sure that your profile picture represents the course. You also want to make sure then that your course title is consistent. And I'll show you in a minute how to set that up so that it says just the right thing up here. You also would like, I think it's in the best interest of the students to have the page open up to this updates page. So if you see over here in the corner here, it says updates, there's materials, updates, gradebook, and so forth. So if it opens up to updates, this is a chance for the teacher to post things that are relevant to that day or that moment. And so that is a really consistent place to get in whatever you need to get in before a student goes into those materials and gets overwhelmed by all of the work that they're about to do. So this is a spot to send messages or general messages for the class itself. What's also nice about this is you can create an announcement in this space. And here you see under the title of the course that there's an announcements page. And we talked as the Arts Academy, we decided that if we're going to be doing distance learning, it's really nice to have your Zoom link in one spot for that course. So students, you don't have to keep updating it, you don't have to keep changing it. So there's a way, and I'll show you in a minute, how to put your announcements. Put your Zoom link right in here, and this will stay here forever. As long as you keep it as an announcement, it'll stay up here, and it'll be always consistent for the students to find where their Zoom link is, just in case we get into distance learning stuff, or you have students who are only doing distance learning and so forth. Okay, so that is your launch page for your course. So this is what the student would see first. Now, when we get into materials on the left side here, we want to organize this in a very simple yet effective fashion. Again, keep in mind the students, right? They have many courses that they are navigating. And so if we're consistent kind of all the way through and we're as simple and thoughtful about how we organize, it's going to make a much better experience for the student And of course, they will be more likely to want to continue to do work for you if they can find their stuff easily, and not get frustrated and overwhelmed by all of the folders and the craziness that can exist with Schoology. So we're trying to make it an easy experience for the students. Okay, so we're going to set this up where you'd only have 3 folders in this materials section for students. So they would see just lessons and assignments. They would have a share space. Now this is specific to the Arts Academy. If your school would let you do something different with that space, of course, that's up to you guys. And then, of course, we would have a syllabus and class expectations folder that would exist throughout the whole year. Now, the idea here is we don't want to overwhelm the students with having 50 folders when they first open up. So if you have all your materials and lessons and assignments, that makes it pretty simple. So from here, you click on lessons and assignments. And what you'll see is the weeks, that specific week's assignment on the top. It is labeled the days of the week, right? The 14th through the 18th. And it also has the topic that is the focus for that week. Because what we found was if you don't put the topic in and you just have weeks or just months for labels of folders, it's very, very hard to find a specific topic that a student needs to go back for, or for a student just needs to go back to get some extra help on that. It becomes very difficult for the student to find that if it's not labeled right within the title of the folder. Okay, so and this is all discussed by a group of teachers who had this experience all last year, and we worked together to come up with the best way to get this to flow. All right, so you have a September 14th through 18th, that's your weekly folder. You'd have a monthly folder, and then you'd have a quarter 1 folder. Now, to start the year, you wouldn't have this quarter 1 folder in here because you haven't finished quarter 1 yet. You wouldn't necessarily have the September folder until you get to the second week of September. And then once you get into the following weeks, further into the school year, these weekly folders would then go right into the September folder. And I'll show you how to do that in a second. So in the September folder, it would look like this. You'd have your lesson. You'd have additional resources in practice. And this is where you'd have Nearpod or Padlet, discussion boards, Flipgrid, Edpuzzle, whatever additional resources you would need to go along with your lesson. And of course, then you would have some type of assessment for that week. So again, you're keeping it very straightforward for the student. So if I were to go into this original assignment for the week, here is my video about writing a good conclusion. Students can watch that video. I then have this as an assignment where they are responding. So then I know that they've watched the video, see what questions they have and so forth about the video about writing a solid conclusion. And then they submit their work and I can grade it based from right here. Now that's something a little more technical that we'll get into a little bit later, not in this video. Okay. So to go back to that folder, so they have the lesson, then you have that additional resources in practice folder here, and here's where you'd have, your outline, you'd have a little assignment, maybe you'd have a shared board for some things for kids to share, whatever you would like to put in. That's of course up to the teacher to decide what additional resources and practice assignments that you are going to assign that you want students to work on. And then lastly, of course, you would have some type of assessment for that week. In this case, it might be actually writing the conclusion and handing it in. It might be a quiz about some of the concepts and materials that go into writing a good conclusion. Again, that is also up to the teacher. But of course, as good instructors, we are making sure we're assessing students, giving them those formative assessments as much as we can to make sure that we know where they're going and how they're doing, and then we can allow that to drive our instruction based on the needs of the students. Okay, so that's the general setup for the materials page. So I promised I would go back here and talk real quick about the setting up your update page, your launch page. So this is really easy to do the profile picture, the course picture. You just go into, which if you just scroll over here and you let your mouse float over this spot, and you can hit edit picture. And then you can attach a file. So what I like to do is I go and I Google, because we have blocks, different blocks that represent several layers. So I have an A block, a B block, and so forth. And then I just make a folder of that from the internet, and then I have a folder that is specifically for that block. And then I just click on that as we go. So I believe it's in my desktop, and then I have a Schoology block pictures folder, and then here are my block pictures. So whatever I want to pop in there, click on that, I hit open file, and then it would just load right into that profile picture. So it's nice and organized. Now for the course title, and in order to set up your page so that it opens up to these announcements, you're going to scroll down here, you're going to go under course options. In here it says edit privacy course settings. And this is a great spot. I would definitely check this out anyway and just see all these different settings that you can, specifically make that are good for you. You can set up notifications in here. You can set up if you've lost something, you've accidentally, deleted something that you want to keep. There's a recycle bin to go back for it. You can add external tools in here. So this is a great spot. Don't forget about your settings. Okay, so if you scroll down here, let's do this one first. So you can go to info, and here's where you can edit the title of the course, the section, and so forth. So what we've decided as the Arts Academy is to have the same thing throughout, because it'll upload it kind of specifically from PowerSchool, and sometimes the course titles can be confusing for the students. It's not super clear. So we decided that we're going to make it kind of the same across the board. So if it's freshman English, it's very clear freshman English. It's not power of voice, or some other creative title that we use, because sometimes it can be confusing. So very straightforward for the student's sake. The section name, we have the block that the class meets and the name of the teacher. Of course, you'd have the title of the subject area and the grade level, and you're good to go there. Hit save. Don't forget about save. And that should be all set. But try to make sure that you're consistent all the way through within your school as to how you're doing that. Okay, so that's how to do the title. So now under this privacy setting, as I was going to say before, is you scroll down and you can change this default landing page. So you can either have it open up right to the materials, which I think we decided as a school was just kind of overwhelming for students. And instead open up to this updates page where you can have your announcements, you can have updates, you can send a little message to the class. And that's that for how to open up and launch for that page. Hit your save changes, of course, and you should be all set. All right, so now when I'm in here, again, profile picture is consistent, title of the course is consistent. I've got my announcements here. So how to make an announcement. So to make it an announcement, to move it from an update, okay, I would put my updates in here. Now, if I just want to make this an update, it would just, and I hit post, it would just show up down here. Now, to make it like to put your Zoom link in or something that's always going to be in this spot up here that's like posted up there, and it would be posted on your materials page too if you move the materials page, and I'll show you that in a second. You're going to hit this little plus button and then make that an announcement with that bell. Okay, and that would then remain up there all the time. Now, if you don't do that, then it'll just show up down here as an update like it would on Facebook or something like that. So you'll notice Now if I go into materials from this update page, because it was an announcement, it's going to stay up here right underneath the course, so it's always right there. So if I need to jump into that Zoom meeting, it's very easy for the students to find that link. They can copy and paste that link right into their browser or whatever. Okay, and then the last thing I just want to talk about is just making sure that you understand how to move the folder. So when you have these folders for students under materials, lessons and assignments, share space, syllabus and class expectations. So when I'm here, again, so the first week of school, I would only have that first week up. And then when I get later into September, I would then create a September folder, right? So then I hit add materials, I add a folder, and then I would put like September, October, choose the color, and so forth, and create that folder. Now, to make it easy, what you can do is move this folder by just dragging. So you can click and drag, and then I can pop that folder in. You see I have September 3 through 8 for the first week of school, and that would just pop right into there. Okay, and make sure that you don't want it to be inside that folder. So now you have two folders within the September folder, and it's nice and organized. Eventually, once we get through September or we're into quarter 2 and students need to go back for something that happened in quarter 1, again, you can do the same thing. Just click and drag that September folder right into your quarter 1 folder, and it's nice and organized for students. So what we found is that if you can just reduce the number of folders that show up on a page, it's going to make a huge difference for students' engagement and obviously, not getting overwhelmed by the number of materials, the flow, the organization, and so forth. Okay, so that is what I have found and we have found. This is tried and tested with teachers. Is the best way to organize your Schoology courses to get a good flow for the student's sake, and it's for your sake as well. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.